Right now, in the dark of a desk drawer, or maybe, buried deep in some locked folder on your phone, there is a letter you wrote but never sent. Mm-hmm.
We all have one.
Yeah, a text you typed out, stared at, and just left in the drafts. And you probably told yourself you were just waiting for the right time, or waiting until you found the perfect way to say it.
Right. The perfect articulation.
Exactly. But what if this psychological truth is, well, entirely different? What if sending it would actually destroy the very thing you're desperately trying to protect?
It is a profound paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we pour our most intense, unvarnished truths onto a page, only to fold it up and hide it away in the dark.
Yeah, and that's really our mission for this deep dive. We are stepping into the incredibly strange, almost, I don't know, dreamlike psychology of the unsent letter, because we've all been there.
Absolutely. It's a universal state.
You know that specific feeling of being up way too late? Like midnight isn't just a tying on a clock in those moments. It feels more like a substance in the room.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Thick as ink, Slow as a breath, held just a little too long. The room is just gradients of shadow, maybe a pale slash of the moon coming through the blinds, and you are sitting there in this posture of waiting.
Yes, the physical posture of longing.
Right. Your spine is curved over a desk and you're holding a pen. So, okay, let's unpack this, or at least unpack the heavy feeling that sits in that room with you.
That room you're describing, that midnight space, it is the absolute definition of a liminal space. It's a suspended architecture.
Suspended architecture, I like that.
Yeah, it's where the strict logical boundaries we use during the day just start to break down. Time obeys completely different laws here.
Yeah.
Like a car passing outside sounds stretched thin like taffy, right?
Oh, yeah. Like the past and the future are just pooling together on the floor.
Precisely. And in that pooling, the boundary between who you are and who you are imagining yourself to be, it begins to dissolve like sugar in dark water.
Wow. So let's talk about that moment the pen actually touches the paper. Because I've noticed when you're in that specific headspace, you don't really decide to start writing.
No, it's almost involuntary.
Exactly. Your hand just sort of moves. You press the pen down, and it feels less like you're making a mark and more like you're, I don't know, yielding to something. Almost like pressing a finger into damp earth and finding the shape of a root that was already waiting underneath.
Yes, because the paper never really feels blank, does it?
Not at all.
What's fascinating here is, psychologically speaking, the page already holds the negative impression of all the emotions you haven't permitted yourself to express. When your hand moves instinctively like that, your body is keeping the score.
The body taking over.
Exactly. The words aren't coming from your highly edited, conscious prefrontal cortex. They're rising from a much deeper, older part of your mind. They rise like bubbles through dark water, slow, carrying silt from places no daylight has ever touched.
And it feels like a physical release, but it also literally aches. Like if you've ever written one of these furious emotional letters by hand, you get that intense cramp in your wrist.
Yes, and I would argue that ache isn't just physical fatigue. It is a kind of somatic memory. The cramp is ancestral.
Okay, wait, hold on. Ancestral cramp. I mean, that sounds beautifully poetic, but what does that actually mean for me sitting at my kitchen table at 2 in the morning with a cheap ballpoint pen?
It means you aren't alone at that table.
Are we saying I'm channeling ghosts?
Not ghosts, no, but the inherited human condition of suppressed longing. Think about the generations of unexpressed feelings that precede you. The tendons of mothers who folded desperate notes into pockets before funerals.
Oh, wow.
The tensed shoulders of lovers who rehearsed confessions in steamy bathroom mirrors only to wipe them away. The knuckles of children tracing apologies on fogged windows, knowing the words would just vanish.
That's a heavy image, just the spine carving around these unsent words like a shell around a pearl.
Exactly. When you hold back your deepest truths, your body physically tenses to contain the emotional charge. That ache in your wrist is the physical manifestation of containment. You are participating in a very old human ritual of holding back.
That makes a lot of sense. The body physically bracing against the vulnerability of the words. And speaking of the words themselves, I want to look at the actual syntax we use in these letters.
The grammar of the unconscious.
Right. Because when you read them back later, if you dare to, they follow a very strange rhythm. They read like tides coming in and receding. I notice there's always a stutter in the writing.
A hesitation before the truth.
Yeah, like you'll see a comma hanging suspended like a tiny hook catching absolutely nothing, or you'll pause before writing a word like called, as in, I should have called you, And in that half-second hesitation, the word you actually wanted to write was ached or reached or wanted.
The censor of the unconscious works incredibly fast, doesn't it? It acts like a real-time editor.
It really does. And here's where it gets really interesting. The result is this deeply coded language. It's like a mask that fits so perfectly, we completely forget we are wearing it. We use the word should over and over again.
Yes. The metronome of guilt.
Exactly. I should do this. I owe you an explanation. I should have been better. It's this constant drumbeat. It's a grammar of debt. We say, I owe you, as a way to completely disguise the vocabulary of desire, which is simply, I need you.
It's a very safe disguise.
But why do we do this? I mean, even when we are alone in the dark and we know no one is ever going to read the letter, why are we still writing in this coded language?
To understand that disguise, we have to look at how we learn to express desire in the first place. This usually points back to early childhood origins, what Freudians might call the primal lesson.
The primal lesson. Okay, paint that picture for me.
Picture a very young child. They reach out for a parent's hand, but maybe the parent is overwhelmed and they sigh. Or the child asks for attention and the parent physically retreats behind a newspaper or, a screen nowadays.
Right, they pull away.
In that fleeting moment, the child's developing brain registers a terrifying association. It learns that my pure desire makes the people I need disappear. My wanting is a burden. It pushes love away.
But wait, are we really saying every unsent letter boils down to, like, mommy and daddy issues? Because sometimes I write a draft to my boss because I'm furious about a project deadline.
It's a fair question.
Or to an ex who legitimately wronged me, Is that still the primal lesson?
No, not every letter is literally about your parents. But the mechanism of how you express vulnerability, that was built in those early years. The situation with your boss or your ex is the current trigger. But the software your brain uses to process that vulnerability is old.
Ah, okay. The software is outdated.
Exactly. The second part of that primal lesson is learning adaptation. The unconscious learns that if direct desire pushes people away, maybe duty will make them stay. So we learn to disguise desire as duty. We say, I should help you, instead of please hold me. The unsent letter is an adult artifact of this ancient emotional translation. Direct address simply feels too dangerous to the nervous system.
Okay, that paints a really clear picture. So we've taken these deeply raw, dangerous feelings, wrapped them up safely in the language of duty and guilt, and pressed them onto the paper, but then there is the envelope.
The threshold.
Right, or the send button if it's digital. It just sits there, this flat rectangle of potentiality, and we stop, we fold it up, we refuse to send it. Honestly, when I look at the unsent letters I've kept, actually putting them in the mail feels like it would be an act of violence.
It would be a violence. It would be a violence to the psychological sanctuary you've just built.
Yeah.
The act of sending a letter requires a massive leap of faith. It requires the fiction that meaning travels intact across a distance.
But it doesn't.
Your unconscious knows the brutal truth. Once that letter leaves your hands, you completely lose control of it.
It mutates.
Exactly. The words would mutate in transit. The literal postmark, or the digital read receipt, stamps its bureaucratic rhythm right over the fragile pulse of your prose.
That is such a vivid image.
If the recipient reads it while distracted or defensive or simply in a bad mood, the letter arrives as a corpse. All the breath and intention is stripped from its syllables.
But I have to ask, isn't keeping it in the drawer just, cowardice? Aren't we just afraid of conflict or afraid of rejection? It almost feels like we find comfort in a wound that never heals, like we choose the familiar ache over the unknown territory of resolution.
It's easy to dismiss it as cowardice, yes, but psychologically, it's much more complex. It's actually a deeply protective mechanism. If we connect this to the bigger picture, to send the letter is to risk the dissolution of the self.
Dissolution of the self. That's a heavy phrase. Explain what you mean by that in this context.
Think of it this way. Your sense of self is often tied to your capacity to love and be loved. In the isolated space of the unsent letter, your love, your anger, your longing, they are perfectly contained.
Untouched by reality.
Precisely. The psyche is preserving its most precious resource, the dream of perfect union. As long as the letter stays in the drawer, the relationship exists in a realm where reality cannot touch it and ruin it.
Ah, it's like buying a rare vintage toy and refusing to take it out of the shrink wrap. Because the moment you open the box and play with it, the joints get loose, the paint chips, reality degrades it. In our longing, the person we are writing to remains absolutely perfect.
Yes, uncorrupted by a reply or disappointment. There is a profound erotic charge. And I mean erotic in the sense of life force and connection, in that almost connection. the magnetic thrill of the uncrossed threshold.
Oh, the uncrossed threshold, like the moment right before a kiss.
Exactly. Often, the moment right before a touch contains more electricity than the touch itself. The unsent letter worships this threshold. It keeps the object of your desire in the realm of fantasy. In the drawer, they can never reject you, they can never let you down, and they never reveal themselves to be merely messily human.
That is fascinating. So we keep the envelope empty to keep the fantasy alive, but I want to look closely at what actually makes it onto the page. If you look at the top of the page, you write their name, you write an address.
An address that might as well be a street name from a dream.
Yeah. And the zip code is just a sequence of heartbeats. But if you really analyze these intense middle-of-the-night letters, there's a strange phenomenon.
What do you notice?
We avoid physical descriptions. There's rarely any mention of, like, the smell of rain on their jacket, or the texture of the carpet in their apartment, or the specific shape of their hands. It's all highly abstract, emotional language. Why is that?
That absence is highly strategic. Sensory details, smell, touch, the specific timbre of a voice, they bypass the logical, intellectual parts of our brain entirely. They strike the limbic system directly.
Give me a quick refresher. The limbic system versus the rest of the brain.
Sure. The prefrontal cortex is the rational, thinking part of your brain. It helps you analyze and organize your thoughts into neat sentences. The limbic system, however, is the ancient, emotional core of the brain. It deals with raw feeling, survival, and memory.
So it's the raw nerve.
Exactly. If you start describing the specific scent of the person's perfume or the shape of their hands, you activate the limbic system. You flood your body with the raw, visceral memory of their physical absence. It's too painful.
It overwhelms the very structure you were trying to build with your words. It breaks the dam.
Yes. It bypasses the intellect and strikes the system too painfully, so you keep it abstract to survive the writing of it.
Wow. Okay, but that brings up a really huge question. So what does this all mean? If we are actively avoiding the real sensory details of the person, and we are fully aware we are never going to mail this to their actual address, then who is the person named at the top of the page?
That is the crucial pivot.
Right. If the letter isn't actually for my ex or my estranged friend, who am I talking to?
We are dealing with the psychological concept of displacement. The person whose name is written at the top of the page is merely a stand-in.
A stand-in.
Yes. A safe, available target for an unsafe, overwhelming feeling. It's the mind's way of redirecting an emotion from a dangerous target to a safer one.
Give me an example of how that works in practice.
Let's say you have a massive reservoir of grief or anger about feeling fundamentally unseen or unvalued. Perhaps, again, stemming from early life dynamics where it was too dangerous to feel that primal rage at a caregiver.
Because you relied on them for survival.
Exactly. You can't safely direct that rage at the caregiver. So your psyche performs its ancient magic. It transfers that massive emotional charge onto an available object, your ex, your friend. The body rebels on the page. The thumb presses too hard on the curve of a Y. The line trembles in "forgive me," revealing the memory of a smaller body at a smaller desk.
So the letter is basically a Trojan horse.
Beautifully put, yes.
Okay.
The true addressee of an unsent letter has no human address. You are writing to the abstract concept of being met.
Being met and being seen.
Exactly. Being seen completely.
Huh.
The letter appears to travel horizontally across space, intended for another human being in another city. But its true trajectory is vertical.
Vertical, meaning it's traveling downward.
Downward. Deep into the layers of your own self.
Wow, okay, I feel like the boundaries are really softening here, like wax near a flame. That midnight room we talked about at the beginning, it's like the dreamer and the dreamed are exchanging places.
Yes.
The writer is becoming the written, the sender discovers they were always the intended recipient.
Now you are arriving at the absolute deepest layer of the dream, the layer the psyche protects most fiercely. Ultimately, the unsent letter isn't about interpersonal communication at all. It is about existential survival.
Existential survival. Okay, we've gone from stationary to existential survival. That's quite a leap. How so?
We have to look at the primal scene, that traumatic realization that you are not the center of the universe, like seeing a parent's face light up for someone else. To survive that void, we navigate two competing forces in the human mind, the pleasure principle and the death drive.
Stop right there. The death drive. That sounds incredibly intense. How does a terrifying concept like the death drive apply to me leaving a folded piece of paper in a drawer?
I know it sounds dramatic, but in psychoanalysis, the death drive doesn't necessarily mean a desire to physically die. It refers to the human urge towards stasis, towards zero tension, the pull to return to a state of complete calm and non-expectation, protecting the fragile self from shattering.
So by refusing to send the letter, the death drive wins.
Yes, you choose the quiet, predictable peace of the drawer over the chaotic, unpredictable pain of the real world.
I see. It's the ultimate defensive maneuver. I can't be hurt if I don't play the game.
Exactly, but pushing against that is the pleasure principle, the drive toward life, connection, and asserting your own existence. Think of an infant's first successful grasp of an object. It's the thrill of agency.
Asserting agency. I am making an impact on the world.
Precisely. When you drag the pen across the paper, making marks in the dark, you are asserting that agency. You're proving to yourself that you are real.
So the act of inscription, the literal scratching of ink onto paper, it's a ritual against annihilation. It's saying, I am here, do not let me disappear.
And this raises an important question, perhaps the most important one of all. What if this letter, filled with anger or apologies or desperate longing, is simply a love letter to the self you haven't yet learned to receive?
Oh.
The unsent letter heals the oldest, most pervasive wound we carry, the false belief that our words only matter if they reach an intended ear.
That shifts the entire perspective. The letter is no longer a failure of communication. It crosses a threshold into simply being. It sits in the drawer, not waiting for a reader, but waiting for the moment when the writer finally becomes ready to read it to themselves.
It is communication in its purest, most radically honest form, stripped of performance, freed from any required outcome. It exists only for the sacred act of articulation itself.
So, to pull us gently back from this dream space, back into the waking world, the next time you find yourself sitting in the dark, pen in hand, struggling with words you know you'll never send, I want you to remember this.
Yes. Remember the ritual.
You are not failing to communicate. You are participating in an ancient, deeply sacred ritual of witnessing your own soul. You are giving language to the silences that require your presence, and no one else's.
The unsent letter glows with a soft internal light, allowed to exist without purpose, without destination, and without demand.
But it leaves me wondering, when you finally do set the pen down and the drawer is closed and that paper eventually, inevitably turns to dust, what happens to that reflection? Does the silence finally find its peace, or does the longing simply slip off the page to find a completely new place to wait inside you?